The evening light filtered through the bar windows, creating a warm atmosphere that contrasted with the cold I felt inside. My name is Daniel, and although others saw a successful and charismatic man, there was a hidden monster inside me, fueled by insecurity and jealousy. It all started the day I met Sara. She was an enigmatic beauty, with eyes that seemed to reflect the universe. From the first time our eyes met, I knew there was something special about her. But as our relationship intensified, so did my fears. Every time I saw her laugh with other men, a dark anger took over me. Why him? I asked myself. What does he have that I don't? The question repeated itself in my mind like a mantra, leading me to an abyss from which I could not escape. Sara became the center of my life. I idealized her, I adored her, but my jealousy grew like a shadow. One day, as I was getting ready for a dinner we had planned, I saw her walk into the room in a red dress that fit her figure perfectly. Her beauty disarmed me, but the flash of a smile she shared with the man at the door made me explode inside. He's just a friend, she assured me, but I knew I couldn't trust anyone. That night, my thoughts were a whirlwind. The image of her laughing and flirting with that man tormented me. As we ate dinner, I couldn't help but scrutinize every gesture and every word they exchanged. The dinner became a silent battlefield. My eyes burned with the need to understand her world, a world that seemed to be filled with people who adored her. That night, I decided I had to take control. The following week, I decided to follow Sara. It was a despicable act, I knew, but I couldn't resist the temptation. When I saw her leaving her job, I followed her to a small coffee shop. My heart was pounding as I hid in a dark corner, hoping to discover the truth. She sat with a group of friends, laughing and talking carefree. But what really broke me was seeing one of those men lightly touch her on the back. In that instant, something broke inside me. Anger and pain merged into an explosion of madness. What did he have that I didn't? My thoughts became a dark labyrinth. Every smile from Sara became a stab in my heart. I decided I had to act, that I had to protect what I believed was mine. That night, I confronted Sara. I looked into her eyes, trying to find a truth that I wasn't willing to accept. Why do you laugh so much with him? Don't you realize how he sees you? Sara gaped, shocked by my jealous outburst. Daniel, it's just a friendship. I've told you 1,000 times. Why don't you trust me? Her voice was a soft chant, but screams echoed in my mind. Guilt mixed with anger, and without thinking, I grabbed her arm. I don't want you to see him anymore. He's dangerous. She stepped back scared. What's wrong with you? You can't dictate my life. This isn't love, it's control. The words pierced me like daggers, but the darkness that had awakened in me wasn't going to calm down so easily. My jealousy was taking shape, becoming a monster I couldn't contain. Days passed, and my jealousy became an obsession. I couldn't stop thinking about Sara and her laughter, how it lit up the world around her. But that light also attracted shadows. I began to see everything as a threat. Every look, every word, everything was a cause for distrust. I decided that the only way to secure her love was to keep her close. I called her insistently. I sent her constant text messages. I wanted her to stay away from others, to belong only to me. But every time I tried to get closer, her resistance grew stronger. One afternoon, after an argument, I found myself alone with a friend in a bar. I told him about my fears, my anguish. Daniel, jealousy is like poison. It's consuming you, she warned me. But I was blind, unable to understand that my love had transformed into possession. Sara decided she needed space. I can't go on like this. This isn't love, it's madness, she told me. Her words hit my heart like a hammer. The vision of losing her filled me with deep terror. My jealousy turned into a storm that threatened to sweep away everything in its path. The following week, I made a decision. I planned an unexpected meeting to show her how much I loved her. That night, I took her to a special place, an old lookout where we used to go. The stars shone above us, and although the atmosphere was romantic, the tension in the air was palpable. Sara, I want you to know that I will do whatever it takes to make you understand how much you mean to me. I told her, my voice breaking, but the atmosphere turned dark. When she refused to compromise to my demands, anger washed over me. My jealousy became an uncontrollable explosion. Why can't you see that what you're doing is destroying me? I screamed, feeling the words pour out without being able to stop them. Daniel, this isn't love, it's toxicity, she replied, her eyes shining with tears of frustration. The air became tense, and in a flash of madness, I grabbed her arm tightly. I looked into her eyes, searching for answers that weren't there. Sara pulled away, fear reflected on her face. The image of her terror seared itself into my mind, and the reality of what I was doing began to sink me into an abyss. The breakup was inevitable. That night, after dropping her off at her house, I drove in a trance-like state. Rage and pain took over me, and as I drove, I couldn't stop thinking about how I had ruined everything. That's when I saw a group of Sara's friends. They were laughing, enjoying life. The image of her smiling with them pushed me over the edge. Without thinking, I decided to confront them. Why are they here? Do they have nothing better to do than hang around my girlfriend? The words spilled out of my mouth like venom, and in an instant, laughter turned to confusion. My fists clenched and chaos broke loose. In a fit of madness, I confronted one of them. The fight was fierce, but it was just a reflection of the war I was carrying inside. That night I came home hurt and exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally as well. Obsession and jealousy had taken over. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to write to Sara. My fingers moved quickly, and every word I typed was a mix of love and desperation. I'm sorry. I'm losing myself without you. I can't let this end like this. I need you. But when I saw that my message went unanswered, a new wave of fury washed over me. Desperation transformed into a destructive desire. If I couldn't have her, no one could. It was a dark thought, and even though I knew it, I couldn't stop myself. My thoughts became more and more twisted. I began to spy on Sara, to follow her in secret. Every time I saw her laughing with other men, my mind was filled with images of revenge. The thought of losing her had pushed me into an abyss from which I did not know how to get out. One night, as I followed her, I saw a man approach her. A friend, I thought. But the laughter and closeness they shared lit a spark of madness inside me. I decided to confront them. The darkness I had cultivated took me to a place I never imagined. The night of the confrontation was like a torrent. I found myself facing Sara and that man, a stranger, laughing and enjoying themselves. In a fit of jealousy, I screamed, "Leave her alone! You have no right to approach her." Sara turned to me, her eyes filled with disbelief and fear. "Daniel, what are you doing?" In my mind, I had crossed the line. Instead of facing my demons, I had let them come to the surface. The fight was inevitable. The man pushed me, and in a moment of madness, I threw a punch. After the fight, I found myself alone, sitting on the floor, my heart beating wildly. The adrenaline wore off, and the reality of what I had done hit me hard. Sara walked away, her gaze piercing me like a sword. Disappointment and fear were etched on her face. The next few days were torture. Jealousy had consumed me, and the void Sara left behind was unbearable. I had lost control, and with it, the only person I truly loved. A month after that night, I decided to seek help. I realized that my jealousy had crossed the line of love. I began attending therapy, talking about my insecurities and fears. Each session was a step toward redemption, but the road was long and painful. I realized that love isn't about possession, but about trust and respect. As I worked on myself, I realized that there was a part of me that needed to heal before I would even consider reaching out to Sara again. One day, after months of inner work, I decided it was time to confront Sara. I looked her up at the cafe where we used to hang out together. My heart was beating nervously as I watched her sitting there, her beauty still radiant. As I approached, she looked up. Her eyes showed surprise, but also wariness. "What are you doing here, Daniel?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. "I want to apologize," I began. "I've been working on my issues. My jealousy brought me to a dark place, and I'm sorry I hurt you." She looked at me with a mix of distrust and hope. "I don't know if I can trust you again." For weeks, we met at the cafe, talking, sharing, and slowly rebuilding our relationship. Sometimes, the shadows of my past would come back. But I was determined not to let my demons ruin what we had begun to heal. One afternoon, as we walked through the park, I took her hand. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to take away the pain I caused you, but I want to try. I want to be the man you deserve." Sara smiled, and for the first time in a long time, I saw hope in her eyes. The road to healing would be long, but together we were willing to face it. The lesson of jealousy became the start of a new chapter in our lives. Over time, the shadows of the past began to fade. I learned to trust and love without possessions. The relationship with Sara became a reflection of mutual growth, where each could be free without fear. And so, we began to write our own story, a story where trust and genuine love would always prevail. Life wouldn't be perfect, but with Sara by my side, I knew we could face any storm. If you like this story, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.